Well, good morning, everybody, and I'm sorry if I kept you waiting. Apologies for that. I've been very much looking forward to coming to this event, and my thanks go to the Food and Drink Federation and the Forum for the Future for organising it at this time. Just 3 weeks to go now. Exciting. And it's heartening to see so many leading figures from the food and drink industry coming together to discuss the important issue of how we secure sustainable food ahead of the Rio+20 summit next month. The engagement of business is absolutely paramount to this agenda. I was interested to see that you called the event the Rio+20 Challenge. Good choice. It is indeed a challenge that we face. Today, there are 7 billion people on this planet, and you always hear people talk about the fact there will be 9 or 10 billion by 2050, but I think the statistic that really focuses the mind is that we will need to feed an extra billion mouths in just 13 years' time. That feels much sooner, doesn't it? The number of middle-class consumers is also set to increase by 3 billion over the next 20 years, and with that come changing diets and changing habits, placing more pressure on our resources. So by 2030, the world is expected to need at least 50% more food, 45% more energy, and 30% more water. And at the same time, we are seeing the ongoing loss of species, deforestation, and climate change. We know that if we continue to degrade the environment and erode our natural capital at current rates, the planet cannot sustain itself. So it is indeed a time of great challenge. But I hope you'll agree with me that it's a time also of great opportunity to grow more food sustainably, to employ more people in a growth industry, to innovate with new green technology, and to produce more with less. I believe that by working together we can find solutions which are good for the environment and good for business. Now, NGOs, business leaders, politicians have all been convoked to meet in Rio de Janeiro to make the case for greening our economy, a transformation which must address how to use the Earth's natural resources more sustainably. One of the major outcomes at Rio is expected to be agreement on developing the new Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs as they're known. These goals aim to galvanise the international community to work towards common ends in a much more coordinated, coherent and effective manner. They've got the capacity to drive action in the way that the Millennium Development Goals have done, securing tangible outcomes for development. For this reason, I've strongly supported the development of SDGs from the outset, and I and the Deputy Prime Minister, who is leading the delegation in Rio, are working hard to ensure a successful outcome is reached on this in June. We need a small number of SDGs focused on the most critical sustainability issues relevant to poverty eradication, growth and development, which is why I've been championing the cause for food security and sustainable agriculture, water security and sustainable energy to form the core of these SDGs. Food, water and energy are fundamental and interrelated issues. Dealing with any of them in isolation is pointless. For example, agriculture uses 70% of available fresh water. Clearly, sustainable food production isn't possible without sustainable water resources. Food, energy and water are fundamental not only to our economy, but also to the lives of the world's poorest people. Half of the world's undernourished people and the majority of people living globally in absolute poverty are estimated to be smallholder farmers, dependent on agriculture for their livelihoods and most vulnerable to threats to the food system. We need recognition of these issues at a global level, and we need renewed focus to drive forward change, and I believe the SDGs can be the means to do this. In addition to SDGs, we're also working to ensure that any declaration that is agreed at Rio clearly recognises that food and agriculture is critical to greener growth, poverty eradication and sustainable development. The current negotiating text, called the Zero Draft, is being negotiated in several sessions in New York ahead of the Rio summit itself. But I have to admit that as I watch this text ballooning in size to over 400 paragraphs, I become increasingly worried. I suppose it's what you have to expect when 200 countries get involved in sort of an exercise of creating a text by committee. But it is important, and although it's hard work, the international community will have the high-level mandate to work from. But ultimately, I want Rio to deliver a short, sharp, clear political declaration. And food must be one of the central issues within that. I want to see recognition at Rio of the need to take action to tackle the scale of the challenge. The Foresight report that Nick kindly mentioned made clear what actions are needed. More food must be grown and at less cost to the environment. We need an integrated approach to food security with the emphasis on promoting a more sustainable approach to agriculture. We need approaches such as sustainable intensification. It's quite a mouthful to say, but it's actually very important, about raising agricultural yields through improved productivity rather than through using precious resources, land and water. We also need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and the negative effects which agriculture can have on our environment, as well as helping agriculture to adapt to increasingly variable and unpredictable growing conditions. In essence, we need a much easier phrase, climate-smart agriculture, and there's a growing consensus about the need for that and strong support from, for example, African countries, that needs to be on the agenda at Rio. The need for these actions must be recognised at Rio if we're ever to chart a path towards a more sustainable food system. And your role in this is vital. We need Rio to trigger a profound shift in the way both business and government think about growth. There will be many ways for businesses to show leadership at Rio and affirm their commitment to sustainability. It's important that the private sector makes its voice heard to show that this is an economic issue as much as an environmental or development issue. We need to showcase the excellent ideas you have, innovations and best practice to really use the Rio platform to increase the visibility of sustainable business. So I hope that those of you that are able to go out there will make your own commitments and push governments to do more. I know that some of you will do this for sustainability reporting, which I think is an excellent idea that we can take and share in Rio, but it goes wider than that. The UK, together with the World Bank and Natural Capital Declaration, will be holding a Natural Capital Summit where we hope to showcase commitments from governments and business on integrating the value of natural capital into our decision making. We've done that here, setting up our Natural Capital Committee that reports directly into the Chancellor, enhancing the decisions that we're able to make because of our better understanding of its value. And the UN Global Compact is encouraging business to make new individual commitments that all business can sign up to. So I hope that many of you who are here today can get involved, because I want Rio Plus 20 to help business to do more. Come a long way since the original Earth Summit 20 years ago. I think it's important to acknowledge that. We've seen many organisations represented here today play a crucial part in the shift and progress that we've already made. The progress the FDF has made towards their five-fold environmental ambition demonstrates the industry's ability to contribute and lead by example on the global stage. The progress you are making on your goals, such as cutting CO2 emissions, reducing packaging waste and water, shows that to be green and growing is achievable. It's just exactly what Nick was talking about his company doing. So I was encouraged by these examples of best practice. I particularly like the small but simple and significant thing, the way in which Kraft got the packaging, the Easter egg boxes redesigned to reduce their packaging. Just a small innovation, but actually makes a difference to the volume of packaging and the carbon footprint. Or Mars, using anaerobic digestion to divert over 220 tonnes away from landfill. Or Young Seafood, removing 800 tonnes of carbon dioxide equivalent from their packaging supply chain. And I understand there'll be many, many more examples from those of you in the room and that are displayed at the exhibition here today. And government has an important role to play too. A sustainable food and farming industry is absolutely at the forefront of DEFRA's aims. It's one of the key priorities we set coming into office. We're working to help increase the competitiveness and resilience of farms, fisheries, and the whole food chain to ensure a secure, environmentally sustainable and healthy supply of food, for example, through the Green Food Project. In February, many from the food industry met with my ministerial colleague, Richard Benyon, to discuss how we can move forward together to develop a joint national statement on sourcing sustainable palm oil. The British Soft Drinks Association are now working in partnership with DEFRA and RAP on a wide range of in-depth soft drinks roadmap. This aims to help the industry improve its sustainability and its economic performance. Now, these are just a few examples, but we need to move from examples of best practice to ensuring sustainability is right at the heart of business. Working together, we can demonstrate that triple bottom line of financial, social, and environmental good. And Rio Plus 20 will provide us with a unique platform to demonstrate this on a global stage. So I look forward to hearing the presentations today and the panel discussion. But above all, I think there's one last thought I want to leave you with, which is something that always reminds me of the Brazilian commitment to try and make sure we have a success in Rio, which is finally what is needed around the world, is the political will and the determination to make the change. And I assure you, in me, you have someone who is absolutely committed to bring that political will to the table. Thank you.